core missions of Tag Back, the show where every week we take a look at a blaster from the past and see what it could offer us today in the present, is to educate you on blasters that you might not know what they are when you find them out in the wild, but let's be frank, you're never going to find one of these out in the wild. It's one of the rarest blasters, the second rarest blaster that you could ever get your hands on. It is an officially released product from Larami, and they do technically exist, but they are extremely, extremely rare. And this is one of those where you might find it at the thrift store and kind of look at it and go like, it's old, it's dumb, it's air-powered, air power's lame, I want flywheels, where's that rapid strike? And put it back on the shelf, and you're gonna hate yourself for that, because this thing's not only worth a ton of money, but it's also extremely cool. I can only be talking about one thing. Well, the Supermaxx missile shooter. But next up is, of course, the Supermaxx ball shooter. Oh, you're in for a treat if you have no idea what this thing is. Where do we even really begin with this one? I mean, it's the Supermaxx ball shooter. It's a legend in the Nerf hobby. Well, I should start off with the fact that the only reason I have my hands on one of these glorious, glorious things is because What the Foam gave it to me in person at WVZ 2018. So I would have a link to What the Foam's Facebook page down in the description below, where you can check out their amazing resource of pretty much just getting everything in the Nerf hobby in one place. They're really good about showing new products and things people are working on and cool videos and so forth. You really should be following them if you weren't already. And I thank them profusely for giving me one of these. And it's a cursed item because I can never sell it or do anything with it, even though it is exceedingly rare. Yes, the Supermaxx ball shooter from Larami circa 1995. It's an air blaster. That's kind of the most important thing. You got an air tank up here, you got a trigger down here, you got a pump right here, and you've got a big long barrel right here, which holds 16 of the balls, the Supermaxx balls, Larami balls. This is not a Larami ball. This is what you would think would go up in the front right here, but it don't even fit, yo. It is entirely too chunky for that, because this actually shoots a Larami ball. And the closest thing we have to a Larami ball is, of course, like the Zerg balls or the popper balls. Most of like the like Hog Wild popper things are also in the same kind of dimensions, and these aren't perfect, but they will work. And this mother sucker holds 16 of these rounds, which is intense. And of course, it's an air blaster, so you just kind of push that through the front right there, and you can see the follower falls back like that, and it, you know, over time this has gotten pretty weak, but it pushes it up against basically a rubber gasket right there, and then you pump it up, and it takes a lot of pumps. And yes, this is really funny for those of you who are really immature, so I'm gonna start laughing because I'm never gonna get tired of this one. And then, of course, you could pull the trigger. But wait, this thing is also one of the first, and I might actually be the first, select fire blaster that has ever existed, because you got a switch back here that makes it go from full to burst. So burst is supposed to shoot like one ball at a time, or most likely it's 2 or 3. You switch that back, and the trigger gets a nice clickiness to it. And, you know, it doesn't work all that well because this thing's old and yet whatnot. But yeah, it doesn't dump all the air at once. It just kind of dumps it a little bit at a time. But of course, you can switch it to full, and you can pump it up again. I'm gonna leave this on because this is just really fun to watch. Put more ammo in there, pull the trigger, and yeah, it just dumps all the air at once. Or, well, as long as you pull down the trigger, you can hold the trigger, it's gonna launch all of the balls, and it's gonna be amazing. Man, this thing is just way too cool, and it looks absolutely awesome, because like if there's one thing I'd want to, I mean, you could imagine just doing, let's talk about like what this would be used for in the future. Obviously, you would single this thing or put an RSCB on it, and you would make it shoot darts. If you do that to one of these, I will personally shame you, but you could do it, at least theoretically, and it would look pretty cool. It looks like something from Splatoon, to be perfectly honest. It looks awesome. It's one of the closer things we have to looking like one of the splatter shots. But yeah, you wouldn't want to do that to one of these, even if you found one kind of damaged. I mean, this one itself has got a little crack up there, stress crack on it. I mean, it's gonna break eventually. It's got some sun fading on the top of the tank right there, but it's a Supermaxx ball shooter. These things are rare. Is the performance good? No, it's got select fire, but it's kind of a gimmick, and the select fire usually breaks. It has a really rare and expensive ammo you can't really get anywhere unless you happen to find one of those popper things that has the same diameter as one of these, which can happen. Like I said, I have some red ones floating around from when I did the hammer shot review. Those are actually the same diameter as this. This one specifically is one of these Zerg blaster balls, but you get it. These things are rare. These things are valuable. People want them. It's not as well known as stuff like the crossbow, which is insane, because I feel like this is better than the crossbow would ever be, both in terms of functionality and just rarity and everything like that. But you can almost never find one of these when you're looking for it, because this sticker right here is just going to fall right the frick off, and most people are going to think, oh, it's a super soaker, and you get it. There's so many different ways this blaster could be found, but they almost never are. If you go on eBay, you're probably not going to find one, and when they do sell, they sell for a lot of money. We're talking like $200, $300 depending on the condition. They're absolutely nutty. Now, it is safe to say this is not the rarest blaster. I mean, there are things like the Supermaxx missile shooter I will never have that are more rare than this one, because I think the Supermaxx missile shooter, there's like 3 to be known in the entirety of existence. This is more like 10 or 12. It was a released product. I mean, this is something you theoretically could have walked into a store and bought, which is weird why it would be so rare. And it's also a large blaster. This thing is huge, but it's an extremely comfortable, simple blaster that I'm just a... Let's be real. I'm shocked that I own one of these. I am thankful every day that I have one of these hanging up on my wall. When it comes to being a vintage collector, this is pretty much as good as it can get. And I really can't thank What the Foam enough for that. Seriously, check out their page down in the description below. It holds a lot of ammo. It would be really fun to run in like an awfuls round because the distances are not great. It's select fire. There's a lot to love about this thing, but never run one of these in a Nerf war unless you, I mean, you can. We gotta kind of talk about that too, because there's some people, including myself, where I'm kind of like, hey, this thing's really rare. I kind of don't want to destroy it, but at the same time, it'd be a shame to just put it up on a shelf and never use it for anything. And I understand that mentality, but when it comes to something this rare, and I mean, let's face it, you fall on this thing once, you're going to snap the barrel of the pump right off. You're gonna break this retaining ring right there. There is so much that can go wrong with this blaster breaking. But at the same time, man, like, this is one of those where you just like, you go ahead and take it out, show it to your friends, shoot it once or twice, put it back on the shelf. Don't do anything with them. If you don't really like it, find somebody who will, because I know I've seen kids do this. They find out, it's super rare, I'm just gonna go take it apart and shove a freaking low-end PC in my Xbox developer kit. Oh, the hard drive was empty. I'm just going to wipe it because I couldn't find anything on it, even though there was 20 gigabytes of space on there, so forth. You're gonna make mistakes like that, and you're gonna tick a lot of people off, and you think you're being funny and unique when you do something like that, and you're really not. Do not touch these, do not harm them, treasure them, for they are so old, and they're only gonna get older, and really, the previous generation and the next generation both need to come together to cherish these blasters. The Supermaxx ball shooter, everyone. I can't froth at the mouth about it enough, although I wish I had more ammo for it laying around somewhere. I had like 5 of these. I don't know where they went. Anyway, I'm Walcom S7. Thank you very much for watching this video. I do hope you appreciate this, because these don't show up on YouTube all too often. And of course, I hope to see you in an entirely different one.
You gotta